Oh no, you are live. All right, okay. I got a little blurb that said you don't have any space to live broadcast, but it went away. So I guess we're live. So hey everyone, it is Wednesday night. This is Pontificators, and we're gonna pontificate the hell out of DC and why after 87 years of history are they tearing it all down now? Like why is this happening? We're gonna talk about what it is that they're doing and speculate like we always do on Pontificators. Why the hell is DC doing this? So as always, we got Todd Mulrooney. What's up, Todd?
Not much. How you doing? How you doing out there?
How you doing? Hey!
What's going on, guys?
Yeah,
Oh,
we
what
got
about it?
Yeah, we got Comic Book Bob.
What's up?
What's up? And then we got Clint Helinski. I won't say what I was calling him in the private.
Dirty Polak? It was hurtful. It was hurtful, Art, but I got thick skin. How's everybody doing tonight, gentlemen?
We gotta come up with like names for each other, like Clint. Hey, Tits. Hey, what's up, Tits?
Well, growing up, when they found out I was French, they called me frog legs and all kinds of shit.
Nah, you just Thibert.
No,
Yeah.
you're American,
For the first
right?
5 years I would see your name, I thought there was an L in there, and I thought it was Thilbert forever.
Trust me, I've heard it all. What was that, Gabe?
Was that good?
But I mean, your last name is French, but you don't seem to have an accent. So, are you from the States, Art, or?
Yeah. I was born here. My father was born in Canada, and his parents were from France.
I
So
see.
there's French from France to Canada, from Canada to the
I see.
States.
Parlez-vous français? J'ai des français, pas toi enfants, je vais à l'école.
No, I used to know.
Oui.
Oui, monsieur.
All right.
I used to know all the cuss words, but
All right. Merde. Right?
my
Merde
dad
is
used
like
to
crap.
cuss. My dad would cuss in French. Yeah, whatever. And I just like, all right, Dad, I'll be over here when you're done being pissed.
Art's ashamed of his heritage. He doesn't know his language. Damn, man.
Oh, Art.
What the hell's wrong with you, man?
What's up with
Yeah,
that?
Gabe knows more about my heritage than I do. Yes. My grandmother spoke French though. That was kind of cool. But
Very cool.
she passed when I was 5, so I didn't get much tradition at all. So it was sad. It was very sad. So we have Gabe. How do you say your last name, Gabe?
It's super simple. It's funny. It's an Arabic name. It's Ataib in Arabic, but my dad emigrated here to escape evil socialist dictator Gaddafi in the 70s. So when he went through like the French consulate, they changed it to El Taib. That's
El
it.
Taib.
El Taib.
Taib.
In
That's what I
Arabic,
figured.
My name is Gabriel Abdulati El Taib. So in Arabic, it'd be Jabril Abdulati Atib. But it's Gabe El Taib. That's what I go by. So it's not a joke name. People are like, oh, are you a big Beatles fan? Because it's Beatles spelled backwards. I actually kind of dislike the Beatles. I think they're good musicians, but John Lennon is just a horrible message from that man.
Well,
So,
there was that. I say this too, Gabe. Like that song, Imagine.
terrible, worst song
It's
ever.
the worst song ever. Like everybody praises the lyrics. It's like that is just freaking horrible. Imagine there's no heaven. Imagine there's nothing to live or die for. Like
Just a little depressing.
A little history tip in there. Do you know that towards the end of his life, right before he died, he was actually starting to switch into the opposite direction?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, was it you that brought that up on a previous Pontificators?
I think maybe I did. Yeah, because
I thought that was interesting.
I do a lot of studying like true crime and stuff like that, and like his whole perspective of everything. John Lennon was a businessman. He knew what was hot at the time, and that's why he leaned really hard into that direction. But right before the end of his life, he started moving in the other direction, kind of like his son. So,
yeah, his son's pretty based.
yeah.
Which son though, the older or the one that was raised by Yoko Ono?
I don't remember. I just follow him on Twitter, and he questions SJW stuff. I don't remember the name.
I'm pretty sure it's the older one. Yeah.
Okay. Julian Lennon.
Julian. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not. I'm a friggin' I'm a Stones fan. So
Have you, speaking of Yoko Ono, she gave us one of the greatest musical moments of all time. Have you ever seen that video where she's just like going,
yeah, unfortunately.
Please, everyone needs to Google that in the chat. It's one of the most amazing things I've ever seen.
I'm amazed that hasn't turned into a meme somewhere, man. Because that thing's like,
goodness.
You know what? When my daughter was young and she'd go, who could listen to that stuff? Yeah, that's a horrible song. I go, listen, we that is probably somebody's favorite song. It's not your favorite song, but it's somebody's favorite song. And when I found out that there were real hardcore Yoko Ono fans out there, I completely just flipped on my point of view. I was like, what? This is wrong.
There's a market for anything, man. Dude, Gigi Allen has freaking fans.
Yeah.
Right. I want to meet someone whose favorite band is the Black Eyed Peas, their favorite restaurant is Applebee's, and their favorite show is like 2.5 Men. I want to meet this person. Because how could that even be?
I don't know if it's my favorite, but I really like all those things.
Oh my God! Sorry, man. Sorry.
I fully admit I have zero taste.
Yeah. There's something about Applebee's just based on the name. I can't even drive.
Well, right now you order a steak, and for $1 you can get a whole plate of fried shrimp with that steak. Like, how can you beat that deal? Steak and shrimp.
Crappy food.
Because
you can beat that deal by buying quality food that tastes good.
Yeah, but if you drink enough beer beforehand, it doesn't even matter.
Well, if you drink enough beer, you can get out of a shit-line shoe. That doesn't mean it's good.
Man, I didn't realize it was rolling with such fancy ass guys.
That's right. That's right.
Applebee's is redneck fine dining.
There you go.
Well, you know what? It's the same. Like Clint sounds like those people that can defend those banquets, those places. It's all you can eat.
Oh God! No, there's my people's, man.
No,
that's
disgusting.
That is disgusting food.
Every little nasty kid sticking their palsied hands into every freaking dessert.
It's not even that. It's just really bad food. It's just
terrible. Have you guys ever been? I don't know where your region is. In Colorado, when I go home to visit my dad and my brother, I'm in California, by the way. There's Golden Corral. You ever been to Golden Corral?
There's one right up the street from me.
This place, they should be in prison. What kind of food is that? Holy shit!
And like I said, it's a friggin' petri dish.
Ugh.
the thing is, if you just say that name out loud, you get food poisoning.
It's a gold heifer.
If you eat there 4 times in a row, you don't need the vaccination anymore. You're immune to everything. You can survive eating there 4 times in a row. Like there ain't shit that's gonna kill you after Golden Corral or.
Right. Oh, today's show brought to you by Golden Corral, by the way.
Yeah.
We used to call it.
In that case, Clint, you just probably got a lot of people to go to Golden Corral.
We used to call it the golden heifers. I was like, fill up the shit troughs. We're ready to eat.
Pamela had an aunt, and God bless her, Aunt Ruth, and we lived in California too, Gabe. We lived in Corona, and so she lived in the LA area. So she'd come up down, I guess, and she'd spend like a weekend or something with us, and she'd always take us to one of those banquet like Golden Corral or something like that, and she was just like, she would pick up the bill, and she was just so proud that she could do that for us, and so we never had the nerve to say we don't want to go to.
Please don't make us do this.
Yeah, please.
The old timer's like, did you get your tetanus shot?
Yeah, exactly. So we would go up there. Like I always would just go, you know what? You can't go wrong with like macaroni and cheese, right?
Yes, you can.
Yes.
Maybe get some of the salad, but I'd never trust the meat. Never ever. Like, oh, it's prime rib. Oh, yeah, really? This is prime rib. This is not prime rib. Yeah, you guys. So the topic is DC. Why are they tearing down 87 years worth of history? Like there are people that have creatively put blood, sweat, tears into the creation of the DC universe, and it seems like within the last, I don't know, I've really been taking notice of it in the last maybe 4 years, maybe 5 years. of DC's decline. And 2 of those years I did work there. So I worked all the way up to Super Sons. So I was working on the miniseries Super Sons, and then Comicsgate came a calling, and I ran for the hills. And I'm glad I did, because I got
a moment too soon.
Yeah, just as Bendis started, he took over the Superman franchise, basically the Superman universe. And so one of the first things he did was cancel our book, or get our book canceled. So that was Pete Tomasi, that was Carlo Barberi, and myself. And so DC, to throw us a bone, gave us a mini series. And so I think I got about 6 issues into that. And then I was just like, I don't think this is for me anymore. And I took off. And I know that Gabe has a story similar to that, that's fresh and is happening right now. So Gabe, why did you leave DC?
You're muted, dude.
Gabe, you're muted.
Gabe, you're muted.
Hey, welcome.
I was popping out the chat on YouTube, and I didn't want the YouTube video audio playing, so I muted it.
That's cool, man. Dude, everybody does it.
Before I go into what happened with me at DC, this morning I had Mike Barron on my channel, and I have a big speaker system in my office, and I turn it off at night. I turn off the equalizer thingy, and Mike is in the chat before we go online. I'm like, I can't hear you, Mike. I can't hear you. And he's like cussing and throwing things. His wife's coming in, they're plugging, unplugging. He's leaving the show and coming back. And after that, I'm like, we got 2 minutes to air, Mike. And he's flipping out, and I go, oh, Mike, I didn't turn on my speakers in my office. And so I gave Mike a heart attack. I had to apologize. That was very boomer of me to hurt my friend Mike. One of my oldest and best friends in comics. He got me into comics back in like 2003 or 4, doing some a Punisher-like character he created called the Detonator. And
Nice.
yeah, I saw the Detonator on the shelf. I'll get to the DC stuff. I saw the Detonator on the shelf at the comic book store when I was in college, like 2003 or 4. And I flipped it open, and it didn't have colors. It just had like random flat colors because Mike couldn't afford a colors. And back then, Image would put in flats for you, but they were just crazy looking colors. So I said, well, I could do better than this. So I went home and drew a picture of the Detonator and colored it. And there was a sign up that said, come meet author Mike Barron and get an autograph on his new book, The Detonator. So I bring my laptop the next day, open it, and show him the picture of the Detonator. And he's like, I got a job for you. And at the time, I was just doing comic strips for my college paper, working for a local Halloween, like those animatronic monsters. The biggest manufacturer of those Halloween animatronics is in Colorado, where I went to college. Anyway, Mike hired me on the spot. He's like, you got to draw issue 3 of Detonator. I guess it wasn't making any money. And Mel Ruby, you guys remember him? He left the series. So I took over on issue 3. And that's how I got all the way into mainstream comics, just because of Mike. So he's one of my oldest and best friends. And I tortured the hell out of him this morning.
Yeah, we all start somewhere. Yeah, but that's a pretty good story. Mike Barron working off a Mike Barron script. That's pretty cool.
Oh God, I did. We created the Hook. Imagine Mad Max, but everything is musical weapons. It's called the Hook, and I helped create that with him. We both own that. We did that in like 2005. It was like a 5-issue miniseries. And what else did we do together? We did a lot of like commercial illustration, comic strips for a bank, comic strips for educational companies. He had me. He kept me going, a lot of work, and then finally Wildstorm snapped me up at the end of 2007. Do you want me to just keep going this way, or do you want me to address the DC thing?
No, this is good.
Okay, so
this is part of the course for us, man.
Okay,
this
so
is also, Gabe, this is kind of like introducing you to Comicsgate and getting your name out and who you are and all that stuff.
Yeah. So I've been a fan of Jim Lee since I was 12 or 13. That's when X-Men #1 came out, and I didn't buy comic books. I didn't have any money when I was a single mother, but I mowed yards so I could get a couple bucks. And excuse me, I've been talking a lot, so I need a drink. My friend Sean's house, I see X-Men #1. There were 5 covers, and it was the pinkish cover with the Beast leaping over the rock, and that drawing of the Beast just. And he showed me that Mark Teixeira glow-in-the-dark Ghost Rider number 25. And
I remember that. Yeah, that was cool.
And I started collecting comics right then. I think X-Men issue 4 was out. It had the Omega Red and Wolverine split in half by lightning. It was a pinkish red cover. And I started going to the comic book store.
I worked on that book.
Oh, awesome. I'll get to you. Don't worry. I'll get to you. And it's funny. We would go to this comic book store in Escondido. That's way North County, San Diego. My friend Sean's mom would drive us up there. And across the street was a porno shop. And my brother's a year and a half older than me. And he just made up this thing where before we'd go in the comic store, we'd look at the shop. And when men would walk in there, we'd point at them and laugh. This is my brother's idea. And I'll never forget this, it's like this Chinese businessman in his 40s. He saw us pointing and laughing, and he covered his face with a briefcase and went into this porno shop. So that was our hobby, just to be little brats like that. But I just got addicted to comics then, and Jim Lee was just my absolute favorite.
I have to back up though, Gabe. So how old were you when those X-Men books were coming out?
Was that 1992?
Right? Yeah. Right,
let's call it 14, 13, 14, depending on the month.
Perfect age.
I was 13 and 14 that year. And I'd been drawing since I don't know when. My grandparents had a Mexican restaurant for 50 years. And I would go in the back and pull out huge things of butcher paper and just draw Star Wars space battles. You know what I mean? I remember doing that it was before I was in school. My brother was in preschool and I would hang out in the restaurant because there was nobody to watch me. So I'd hang out in the back and eat. And I remember I would go fill up soda. Imagine being a child and having access to a soda fountain in the restaurant kitchen.
Oh my God.
And I would fill giant glasses of soda, go into the back parking lot, throw them on the ground so it would look like Spider-Man's web. And I'd throw like a half gallon of soda on the ground, and then I'd sing to myself, Spider-Man, nobody knows who you are, from the electric company. So they told me to quit wasting soda. But I was 3-4 years old doing that. So anyway, I grew up in San Diego reading Wildcats. I find out, Jim Lee's studio is here.
Oh, dude, you're right there.
Yeah, it's in Mira Mesa, is in the center of San Diego, right by the Top Gun Navy base, now Marine base. And Mira Mesa is the city where that base is. It's a Marine Corps Air Station, Miramar. And so I'm saying, oh my gosh.
I know it was in ID4.
Yeah. So Scott Clark, the God bless, he passed away a few years ago. He was an illustrator at Wildstorm.
He was the first.
He lived 3 doors down from me.
He was the first pencil hire, I think.
He did Stormwatch and he did Allegra.
Yeah, he was the first hire as a penciler, I think.
For, really? Wow. And then, when he left Wildstorm, he started doing with Steve Siegel Alpha Flight, in
he did that
98
run at Marvel. I remember that.
He was a friend of mine because he lived 3 doors down from me. And when I was a senior in high school, there was a rumor that the comic book guy was at the local basketball courts right by our house. And my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time in high school, she said, "That's the guy. You should go talk to him." And I was like, So I went and talked to him. I went and talked to him, and he was totally chill.
I know how that goes.
He let me come to his house. 3 doors down, he let me come to his house and hang out. He gave me free comics, and he drew a bunch of stuff in here. And I would show him my art, do you think I could do this? And he would give me drawing lessons. I would really overstay my welcome. And the next year I was reading Wizard magazine, and they interviewed
Gabe, I gotta back up. Okay, which Wildstorm was this? Because do you remember the one office where you would go in and it would just be black?
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one that they were at in '98.
Okay, and the idea behind that, if I remember, is to keep fans away, right?
Right.
So it was it's just a closet. It's not really Wildstorm.
Yeah, it's the La Jolla Bank building, 888 Prospect Street, but they haven't been there in 10, 12 years. It's all up in Hollywood now.
Right.
But I was reading Wizard magazine issue 82 in 1998. I was 20 years old, just submitting once a week. I'd submit artwork, and once a week I'd get rejection letters from all the companies. And in issue 81, they had a Jose Ladron cable cover. They interviewed a bunch of people at Wildstorm, and there was a picture of Sandra Hope. She's a good friend of mine. And out the window, I saw the Colonial Hotel in La Jolla, and I'm like, I know exactly where Wildstorm is. So I go walking around like a stalker.
I love it.
I look in a window, and there's a giant cutout of Spartan. I'm like, that's it.
Nice.
So the La Jolla Bank building is a giant 3-story bank building that overlooks the ocean. It's a block from the Pacific Ocean. And I go over to the cafe that's like an outdoor lobby. It's half covered, half outdoor. And there's a Mexican kid with a ponytail and an engineering pencil. And I go, hey, do you work upstairs at the art place? And he's like, how the hell does this guy know? It was Carlos Deondo, one of my best friends. He took me up there.
Man.
I met Adam Hughes and Travis Charay and J. Scott Campbell.
Damn.
And Scott Dunbier, the editor. And I started going into the office once a week.
Jealous.
And Sandra Hope's husband, Adam Archer, he was the front desk guy, the secretary at the time. I'd give him 4 pages of samples a week. I didn't get hired anytime soon. I went away to college in Colorado, where I'm from, Colorado, but I lived out here growing up. And,
Hey, Gabe, do you remember John Peterson?
No, I know the name, but I don't think I ever met him.
He was an editor there, right?
Yeah, he was editor-in-chief for a while. So
I met him one time at a convention.
Yeah, the editor, when I went there,
was Scott Dunbier?
I think Ben
Dunder,
Abernathy.
probably.
It was Ben Abernathy. No, Dunbier had been fired over the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen thing, I think, or whatever, that whole fiasco.
Okay.
The general manager was Hank Canals. No comment on Hank. And then the editors were great people. My editor was Scott Peterson, and there was Christy Quinn. She's just such a fun lady. Jim Chadwick, Shannon Denton. Who else was there? Did I say Ben Abernathy? I don't know.
Yeah.
And
Jim Chadwick went over to DC, didn't he?
Jim Chadwick is still with them, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was really fun working there. I wanted to work there, like I said, since I was 13 or 14. So it's like wanting to be a ball player, but you don't just make it to the major leagues. You make it to your favorite team with your favorite player. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and so
absolutely.
I did. And Jim Lee personally hired me. The way I got hired is I was working on a bunch of independent comics, stuff with Mike Barron and all that, living in Colorado. I had finished college. And I would always check Jim Lee's blog just to see what they're doing. And this is back when everyone was blogging and all that, before social media had really taken off. And one night at 3 a.m, I'd finished some independent comic. And I was doing it with Norm Berfogle, the former Batman artist. He was illustrating.
Oh, yeah. He was awesome.
A really rich guy out of Bermuda. It was called The Dangerous Dozen. It was like a supernatural pulp heroes and stuff. Anyway, at 3 a.m, there was a black and white drawing by J.J. Kirby, another sweetheart. He lives here in town, too, a good friend of mine. And it said, we need a colorist at Wildstorm. And I was like, it's 3. I don't want to do this. I clicked through on the post, and there were 59 people had already colored it and posted it, and they all were terrible. I said, well, I'm better than this. So I colored it, put it up there. 2 weeks later, I'm at football practice. I'm a football coach. I was coaching Pop Warner for years. And I get a phone call from Eddie Choi. That's Jim Lee's longtime personal assistant. And
he's got a great art collection, man.
That guy, yeah, he's a solid dude, nice guy. And anyway, they offered me the job, but I didn't want to move back here. We were going to make a home there. Our kids were like 1st grade and 3rd grade, and my wife was about to finish college, but they said no, it's a studio job. So we moved back. But my wife is from here, and her entire family is here. I grew up here for 14 years, so we just came home, I guess. We had lived out there for 8 years to go to school and do other things. So we came back here. I think it was January 2nd of 2008 was my first day at Wildstorm.
So you came in really late.
I was the last artist Jim Lee ever hired.
Okay.
At the studio. Yeah,
nice.
I was. And 3 years later, I'm sitting at my desk, and Jim Lee, Dan DiDio, Diane Nelson, and about 100 people are in a conference room in New York City. We're in San Diego, and we're watching on a television. They wheel the television in when you're in 3rd grade so you can watch something. They wheel a TV in, and we're watching a live feed, and they're talking about DC Entertainment, and they're going to close Wildstorm, and they're going to close New York, and they're going to move everything to Hollywood and movies and TV. And I didn't know how it would affect comics, but I remember sitting there thinking, this is going to be different. I knew it would be different. I did not know it would be the wokiest of all woke that ever woke. But I won't pretend I'm Nostradamus and could have predicted that. Nobody could have predicted
Heartbreaking.
that. But I knew it was going to be something different. We were offered jobs in Los Angeles, but who the hell wants to live in the Valley?
Yeah. Hey, Gabe, were you, was it the office? Do you have your own office, or did you work in that kind of bullpen area?
It was called The Pit, and it was painted black, and the colorists worked in there. It was me.
Was it the one with the cinder blocks?
Yeah.
It had the cinder blocks around, and you guys were all in the circle, yeah.
Yeah, it was me, Darlene Royer, David Rodriguez. We call him D-Rod. He was our flatter. He flattered everything. Randy Mayer and Kerry Strand. That was us that was working there.
Okay.
So, and I sat in my favorite colorist's desk, Laura Martin. I sat in her old desk.
Because I remember, I think the last time I was there, I went and I dropped off some Danger Girl pages to Dunbier. And I remember walking through the office. I don't know when this was 2000s, I think, early 2000s.
Okay.
And that place was a ghost town. Like even like that coloring bullpen area, there was nobody in there.
Oh, that reminds me. Speaking of you dropping a page, I need to go back. How dare you, Art? When I was a little kid, I don't know if Jim Lee was going on to Image or doing something, but I was collecting X-Men. And what issue did you fill in for him first on?
It was, I think it was 12 and 13.
It had like
12 and 13.
It was like a peach orange cover.
Yeah.
And do you remember? And there was like a guy hanging by like robotic wire. I don't remember what it was about, but I remember being so upset.
Hazard.
I remember being so
we just
upset.
talked about it.
I remember being so upset that Jim Lee wasn't drawing it, and I'm like, "Who is this Art Thibert? You don't suck. You don't suck."
I was okay. I was okay with it, Art. Like I'm like, all right, he's trying to like he's got some Jim Lee stuff going on. They didn't want to make too much of transition. I knew you were the inker.
Right. Let me turn it around on you. How did that feel to follow Jim Lee?
I knew it was just 2 issues, and I knew it was kind of to take the heat off of Andy Kubert that was coming in. So,
okay.
So I knew what my job description was, so I was just flattered to do it. And also, like, then we didn't have much time to think or get nervous or anything because the deadlines were so intense.
That doesn't sound like comics.
Yeah, I just went right into work mode, just like usual, and so it really didn't faze me. And then I also knew that it was just a transition to take basically the heat off of Kubert. So I knew I was kind of the fall guy. You know what I mean? I knew I was that buffer, so I would get all the shit, and then Kubert would come in fresh, and everybody would love him. You know, I knew that, and also I already had Cable on the table. So I knew that it was just the 2 issues, and then I was going to start with Fabian on Cable. So
well, Art, you did such a great job with that when I was a kid, and
did.
I've told you that when I was a kid, you know, I was significantly younger, but I didn't even notice at the time. Like I was a young kid. Like I've been 90. What would that have been? 92, 90, 91, 92. Yeah, I would have been like 11. But so I'm not looking at the credits all the time. I'm looking at the art, and I thought it was Jim Lee for the longest time until one day, years later, I'm looking in the credits. And I'm like, that's not Jim Lee. It's Art Thibert. I was like, this is awesome. I was like, I like this dude.
It's good. Hey, yeah.
You lessen the blow, Art.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. I love those issues. Still to this
too.
day, they age well. They're very good.
Yeah, well, like I showed Art that article, and he talked about it, how they brought that character back, and they talked about how this character was like a hidden character was like the secret to the survival of the X-Men.
Oh, that was Hazard, right? That was the character.
Hazard, yeah.
Yeah.
But by the way, Art, I got a picture I'm sharing here, man. I found Danger's Dozen.
Oh, cool. Is that your art game?
Oh, nice.
That's me and the great Norm Berfogo. It was beautiful.
Oh, that's right.
Oh,
Yeah,
sweet.
he signed it right on the crotch. Look at that.
I like
yeah.
that logo.
That's where you put it.
It's on
dope,
the
man.
crotch. That's nice.
Yeah.
I love
and
Brayfogle,
you can actually buy these. There's a website I shared in the chat there. They're all 3 issues of this, and the different covers are all available.
I like that. I love that cover, man.
Yeah.
Oh, poor Norm. Rest in peace, Norm.
Yeah.
What an amazing artist and a thoughtful man. I had a lot of conversations with him, on the phone and email, and he was one of those people that you could tell, oh, well, this guy's not a dummy. You talk to some people, and they're just like, they love Applebee's and
Golden Corral.
Yeah, kidding. But no, he was a very thoughtful man, very spiritual, very deep thinker. I admired him a bit.
I've said this before that Brayfogle was the first guy to ever look at my art. The very first time I ever showed my art off at a convention, I just happened to be going past the table and he was there and nobody was there. So I walked up to him and he was as kind as could be. Looked at my portfolio, gave me tips, gave me encouragement. And that was like, the best thing for a young teenager to hear at the time was just the encouragement from somebody, and I kept in touch with him, email for a couple years after that. And he was always gracious enough to email me back. Dude was, I was extremely sad to hear about his passing.
What? His R.I.P. His Batman was
legendary.
Was freaking off the hook, man, because
and the massive run.
There are 2, was it Marshall Rogers and Norm Brayfogle that I don't think get enough credit for what they contributed to Batman.
Yeah.
Norm Breyfogel's Batman, like not the silhouette, but just the shapes, like with the capes and
I
stuff.
was gonna say the way he did the cape was awesome.
Oh, it was
sick.
phenomenal. And I remember I had a conversation. I think Steve Mitchell was his inker. And at that point, I wanted to kill Steve Mitchell to take his job. I was like, "How? You're a hack." I should be inking.
I would love to hear Todd, because I would say that Todd's Spawn cape was influenced by Breyfogel's Batman.
Yeah, I think I remember reading interviews where I was just gonna mention that, where he said that's where he got the idea of, like, because like the way Norm did the capes, the cape was like it was alive. It was like
you can see the
character
influence there in that design.
Yeah,
he was awesome.
So then, Gabe, did you move to LA? You lived in San Diego. Did you move to LA when they got the Burbank office?
Does my hat say stupid on it? I would never move fucking Los Angeles. Hell no. San Diego is America's finest city. It really is, and I have no idea why anyone lives or even goes to Los Angeles. It's as bad as they say. It's horrible, Los Angeles. Why does anyone live there?
I've only been there once. I didn't like it.
Hey, Gabe, I don't know why anybody lives in California. I was born and raised in California. I left last year, and I live in Texas now. And I swear, I wish I would have done this.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
There's a lot of that going on.
I'm doing fine here. You know, they again, it doesn't seem to really touch San Diego. A lot of the nonsense. This city has more military population than any city in America, because we have the Navy base, we have the Marine base. This city is almost, I think, over 25% or something military. It's a very red city. You know what I mean? We don't have a lot of that nonsense.
That makes a huge difference.
Yeah, it really does. Can you share my screen real quick? I want to show a little bit of that Dangerous Dozen. I went and grabbed issue 3. And
nice.
Oh,
yeah. Now, you got to forgive me. These colors are like 17 years old. I'm much better now. It wasn't bad back then. I don't really remember the story. It was also like spiritual and weird. And he went to the world of Lemuria. And the main character, Aman, I think his name was, he had like Egyptian or Middle Eastern based powers. And he had this floating eye called something next to him that gave him powers and stuff. And he would go into dimensions and talk.
Well, that one guy looks like the Phantom Stranger.
The Phantom Stranger.
I like the design on him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I look at some of these colors like, oh man, I could have done so much better for you, Norm. But it had some Kirby stuff going on.
Oh yeah,
that's some fun stuff. That's some fun looking stuff.
Oh, yeah, that's cool design.
Oh, yeah. Love that perspective shot there.
Yeah, and I did color Norm on like the Phantom Stranger or something right before he passed, like a year before he died or something like that.
Oh wow!
So, but he was a real sweetheart, a very thoughtful, spiritual man. Good dude, very good dude.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So then, when they sold Wildstorm and then moved to Burbank, you just worked out of the house, and as a freelance, you didn't drop anything off at Burbank, or you just
no. I remember I met with Jim Lee and Hank Canals. We would meet one-on-one as it was all closing down. And what do you want to do? How do you want to go forward? You know, there are jobs in Burbank, like in production, art, and all that. And it's like, nah, I'm going to bet on myself and just go freelance. And it was the best decision I ever made. You know what I mean? I made a ton of money being freelancer. Worked for every company basically, except for Marvel. I did trading cards for Marvel. And they offered me a series, but it was like almost half my DC rate. DC is Disney is very cheap. I don't know if you guys can confirm that.
That sounds legit, yeah.
The word is out on that for
DC pays a lot more. DC treats you a lot better. Marvel, they're just really cheap. So.
Well, when I worked at Marvel, they weren't, but but
that was like right around when the wheel was invented, Arch. That was a long
time. Ouch.
Marvel was just like this one cave in the village that had like inside the drawings on the wall.
Yeah, there was no color back then.
They just spun you around in the middle of the chair in the middle of this. Like, oh, okay, you see everything? All right, get out.
Hey, you're gonna take this, Clint? Crazy
I was like, I don't think I really talk that much, but apparently, if Gabe's not here, nobody can shut me the hell up.
Listen, I know I talk a little bit too much sometimes.
Don't even worry about it, man.
But in my defense, this is years being pent up, not allowed to say anything.
Oh yeah.
No. Hey, Gabe. That's why I wanted you on because
Absolutely.
People needed to hear your voice. They need to see you're a good guy. And then I do want to get into your story too, like why you are not working at DC anymore, and then get some viewpoints on what 87 years of history, and then within the last 5 years, pretty much just shitting on the point of all the creators and everybody that's pretty much come before. But my main thing is, why did you leave DC Comics?
How do I say this? I was just really tired of what I felt was a very hostile and abusive relationship. And it's insidious because I don't want to be too mean and accusatory, so I'm not going to name any names. But and I'm not even going to name any companies. Let me be as diplomatic as possible. The Hollywood entertainment industry, they are very, very bigoted against anyone who's conservative. And they do it in that, who, me kind of way, where they don't actually do anything. It's just your phone stops ringing and you stop getting assignments if you speak out. Now, I would say SJWs are 2% of the population or less, but they're so crazy and out of control. They grab the microphone and start screaming, and all of society hears them and is
they're the loudest.
And everyone is just trying to avoid confrontation. Good left wingers and good right wingers. Most people are nice people, even if they're left or whatever. I'm not left.
Right.
I understand most left people are not evil, crazy people, but these SJWs, they're mental, man. So they control everything with their crazy terrorism of just intimidating and canceling and all that. And they're very bigoted. They see that everyone in this group, every black person is this way, every Mexican is this way, and it's like, hell no, that isn't true. The only diversity is our minds. Like we're all, you know what I mean? Like there's a black guy that's just like this other white guy. They're different. The differences are between the minds, not the race, not the sexual orientation. That is such low-level, non-critical thinking, and it's very bigoted. So since I know that about these people, I know what they think of Jabril Abdulati. I know what they think of my politics. So as long as I kept my mouth shut, I could fool them, and I could work there peacefully. And another thing I did to them a few years ago is all my social media. I went and found out how to write my name in Arabic because I don't speak a word of it. I don't know how to write it or read it. I found my name in Arabic and just posted it after my name in English on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and all that. So when these leftist editors who will not hire you if you say that Biden is dumb and you like Trump, and that's the truth, I'll never back down from that. I could hide in plain sight because they are racist against my people. They think all my people think one way. That's literally racist, right? They don't see us as, who was the great author? Was it Vonnegut that said, I contain multitudes, right? Was it
right?
Vonnegut? So we're all different, even though we're all, and I'm not even fully Arab. I'm like half Mexican and Native American, and my grandmother was a Syrian Jew, and the other grandmother was Turkish. It's like, I'm just a human, guys. Really, I'm just, so I think that Trump broke their brain. These people, like, they've never acted the same since. I don't know what happened. You don't have to like him. He wasn't a tyrant. How many tyrants can you vote out of office?
I think it was a combination of Obama that they thought like they were unstoppable, right? Like there was even talk about like Obama going in for another term of office. Like they actually thought that they could do this. So they were clearly just writing checks that they could not cash. And so they thought their party was undefeatable. And so then when Trump came in, the combination of those two things, that's what broke their brain.
That morning was so funny because it was just
it was insane.
They did not know what the hell had happened, and you could just see the shock in their face. And
well, you know what, Gabe, guys, like this was when I knew things had changed. Okay, because I'm thinking I'm just like funny. I'm humorous. Yeah, I just like humor. I like people that say funny things and stuff. So on my Twitter and on my Facebook, I wrote, the best thing about Donald Trump being president or elected president is watching all the precious snowflakes melt. I thought it was hilarious. Like if you went to a comedy club, right, and a comedian said that, you would laugh your ass off, right?
Sure. So not today.
Yeah, I thought it was brilliant. I was like, oh shit, this is a great joke. I'm gonna type it up and I'm gonna put it up. Oh my god, I was assassinated. You know,
You would have thought you assaulted somebody's grandma.
yeah, and friends that I thought like like I had gotten along with, I grew up with, they're all like, how could you say something so insensitive and stuff? I was like, I sincerely thought it was funny. Like that's it. That's as far as my brain went. You know what I mean? I wasn't thinking I was being political. I just thought I was being funny. You know, because remember when there was a time you could make fun of politicians? You know,
You remember when Robin Williams made fun of Joe Biden?
Yeah. They like to brush that one underneath the couch because they all love Robin Williams too. So it's like,
so
he was just joking. That is okay. What you're saying is mean spirited and hateful.
Yeah. That's when I knew their brains had been broken right there. You know.
Yeah, that was a crazy day.
Yeah.
Even at the time, like I lost a couple of friends because I would just post something because I was just happy that Hillary didn't win, you know. So I just posted some stuff, and I remember, I was in a band, and I had a lot of fans across the country that always talked nice about me. They were up in my DMs. We would chat. As soon as I posted something about that, man, I got just inundated with these people that I thought really supported me and just were just saying the most hateful stuff to me, and I was like, holy shit, like that really did affect people's minds back then.
Yeah, and comedians used to just make fun of the president, whether they were or Republican. You know, like there was a day, like what was it? Chevy Chase, making fun of Gerald Ford.
Oh yeah,
because Gerald Ford.
Well, and I mean, look at all the retarded stuff that. Oh, maybe you can't use that.
Oh wait, I gotta interrupt. I'm sorry. So Joe, was your band Limp Bizkit?
It was Limp Bizkit. Yes.
I'm totally
rolling.
What? Rolling. Oh my gosh, we're stepping all over Gabe.
Oh my god.
Oh, hey, actually, guys, just want to let you know I gotta dip out here because I got another stream at 9. But I just want to jump on and say hey to everybody and listen a little bit. Gabe, your story is incredibly interesting. I'm gonna rewatch this and check out anything I missed. So I would love to have you on the Art and Stuff show one day. I'd love to hit you up and get you on sometime. So
I just boomered and had my mic muted again. Sorry. Oh, well, thank you for the kind words, sir. And I don't know you, but I'll definitely have to check out your work and all that. If you want to know the punchline to everything I've been talking about, go to my YouTube and watch the 2 videos. The first 2 I posted.
Yeah, they're really good.
Why I left DC Comics, and one about the liberal white savior. And that just kind of explains my position on that. So
absolutely. Well, guys, appreciate being on. As always, I'm going to hopefully be on next week. Full show this time. It's been a second, so one day I'll be back.
Take care. Thanks for coming in.
Bye, guys. Bye.
Joe's a good guy. Yeah, so Gabe, you got the limelight. Let's hear the rest.
Should we play the video or should I just explain it? I mean,
which video? Because the white savior one is I saw that one. That was fairly quick.
I've got the why I left DC Comics. I put 2 links in there. The first one is why I left DC Comics. Do you want to play? It's 4 minutes. I don't know if you want to do it.
Yeah, let's 4 minutes isn't bad.
Sure, for sure.
Give me a rest from talking a mile a minute.
Hey, you're awesome at it.
You're like Bugs Bunny when they're like, I'm not going to talk to them, but they're going to have anything.
Hey, it'd be one thing if it wasn't extremely interesting, but like, man, I'm riveted. Yeah. I'm loving hearing all about this. I'm loving hearing about your career at DC and like how you got in there. I love hearing those stories, man. It's very fascinating. I'm enjoying every second of this.
Well, I did tell him, it was, we separated from each other and stuff. But I did I know Jim Lee personally. He picked me. He's the one that hired me. He gave me his Padre tickets to take my wife to the game.
Nice.
He has been nice to me. And, I did wish him well and this and that when we spoke by text. I won't reveal what he said. That's not, I don't betray confidence like that. But I don't hate those people. I think those Hollywood companies, you have a choice to make. You just go along to get along and stay quiet like I did for a long time. And if you want to say, hey guys, this isn't right, then then they don't want you to work there. It's that simple.
Well, just know as an aside, when DC decided to move to Burbank, I knew it was over. I knew it was over because I knew all those guys were going to go chase the Hollywood money because at that point they were pretty much just giving up on comics. So they were just like, you know what, comics isn't going to make us rich anymore. So we're going to go to Hollywood and we're going to make our fame and fortune. And I think those guys just pretty much just thumbed their nose at the publishing and just tried to woo Hollywood.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And with a couple flops, movie wise, they fell out of grace pretty damn quick. And so all they were left with was the publishing, and they had no idea really how to make that work, because all their plans were on like, oh, we're going to schmooze the Hollywood guys,
Well, I want to say this about the quality to the chat. If you're wondering why your comic books aren't good, I'm going to say this, and I don't back down from this. Okay. I own my words. So the editors are not good. They're not good editors. They're good people. No. They're nice. They've been nice to me. They are, and I mean this just in a technical way, they're incompetent, not human beings, but imagine a football coach. Again, I played and coached a lot of football. Imagine a football coach that didn't even play high school football.
Yeah.
In life, there's epistemological knowledge and there's technical knowledge. And technical knowledge is the knowledge you get from doing something. Epistemological is what SJWs think they, get when they go read a bunch of books at a college, but never actually do anything in real life. When you do something in real life, there's the unknown that happens. You go, oh, that wasn't in the book because blah, 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 blah. So you don't know how to write a comic or draw a comic or color a comic until you do those things. You can't read about them and then know it. Real knowledge is doing it. Experience isn't the best teacher. It's the only teacher. If you read a book and learn about how to do something, all you proved is you can read English. That's all you proved.
Yeah.
You did not prove that you could do the thing in the book. I could have a book by Michael Jordan on exactly to the molecule how he plays basketball. Push me out on the court after I memorize the book. See what happens to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
there's learned knowledge, and then there's practical knowledge, and street smarts, and then book smarts.
Right.
And it's day and night. And also, as far as DC editors, which I can speak to, is that as a company, as DC Comics as a corporation, they took the power away from those editors as well, because it was all managed on high. So I've had this conversation several times with editors, and I'm pretty sure you did as well, Gabe, where you ask them a question or you have a problem and they say, I'll get back to you.
Right.
They don't deal with it in that moment in time. They always say, I'll get back to you. So what I started realizing is they weren't qualified either to answer the question or they weren't authorized to answer the question. So they had to go ask somebody else and then come back. And you guys have all done monthly comics, I think, with the exception of Bob. So you know how critical it is that you need that information at that moment. You don't need the information in an hour. You don't need the information the next day. You need that information now because you need to get that page done. And editors used to know that, and editors used to have that power and the ability that they could make these decisions on the fly. But I realized that the new DC editors were not doing that at all. And so for me, that was a big difference.
Yeah. And just here's a perfect example of how art is right about maybe they don't have the know-how or the authorization. No names, because these people are nice to me. They've been
they're good people,
personally. But here's the incompetence, and not life incompetence, just editing and understand this artwork form. I was talking to an editor about craft. I don't remember why, telling her how I used to draw since I was a little kid. And she said she knew a lot about he or she said they knew a lot about story and writing because they read a lot. And I thought to myself, oh, no, you didn't say that, did you? Because if you say you know how to write because you read, that's saying you know how to cook because you eat. That doesn't make sense. You know how to write because you write, not because you read.
Yeah.
And that's that whole academic left wing, let's go to college and get 400 degrees and come out with all this student debt and don't know how to do anything.
Right.
You know what I mean? They don't have any of that technical knowledge. They're just filled with epistemological knowledge and a lot of arrogance and smugness. And, the most incompetent people are usually the most confident and least curious. So,
I know I am.
Right. So
that is
100% accurate. I mean, that is hitting the nail on the head there for why comics are selling less mediocre.
I remember an argument with an editor, and I was like, really? You're going to argue with me? And he's like, yeah, you're wrong, blah, 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 on this one thing. And then I just said, I've been doing this for like 35 years. You just got the job. This is how it's done. Yeah, this is how it's done.
Back in the day, the editors were the keepers of the characters. Like, they knew everything about everything about the characters that they were in control of. That's why, like
back in the day, also those editors came up from out of fandom, having read these characters their entire lives, wrote in, came into the companies at the bottom totem pole, and worked their way
up.
And a lot of them did comic books.
Then
Maybe
got to
they
become
weren't
an
that successful at it, but they did do comic books as well.
And that's the idea that like there used to be a time when like just for artists, if you didn't draw Captain America's gloves exactly the way that they were supposed to be, they made you go back and redo it. If you put a piece of dialogue in their mouth that didn't fit who the character was, no, go back and fix it. Today they don't do that. Today they're just glorified secretaries.
Right. They just traffic everything around. They're just, herding cats with the freelancers. But can you imagine if you had tried to run past Jim Shooter that Captain America was a Nazi this whole time? Now, for those of you that don't know, Jim Shooter's a big dude. And I'm a big, I'm 6'4", 290, saying that. He's a big ass dude, that guy. So he'd throw you out the window if you said that.
Yeah, he'd be like, pack your stuff up and get on my site before I break your face.
He's like a living Herman monster. Like, he looks like the Frankenstein monster, man. He's tall and he's an ugly.
And he didn't seem like he was a big quiet guy too. He seemed like he was a big guy that was going to let you know exactly what he thought on everything.
He was the main character. He was Buford Cluster from Walking Tall. That's what he was.
I remember I had a conversation with Jim Shooter because like when I first started, Jim Shooter was editor-in-chief and everything. And so he had a whole philosophy on storytelling and inking, just everything, right? And so I remember having a conversation with him about storytelling, and he said, I don't like people that break the panels. I said, why don't you like that? He goes, because it breaks the immersion. So when a character breaks the panel, he said, that takes you out of the reading experience. And then he used this analogy. He said, you go to a movie theater and those characters, everything is self-contained within that screen. And so it doesn't take you out of the immersion. I said, listen, if Hollywood could get those characters to fly off that frickin' screen and right at you, I said, I guarantee you they would. And I said, that's how I feel about people breaking border panels. I said, why wouldn't we do it if we can do it? There's bad ways of doing it, but there's also good ways of doing it that are very effective. And then he just was like, no, you work at Marvel, you're going to do it this way.
And someone actually,
and you know what I did? I broke panels whenever I wanted to. So
Henry Bemis said that Shane had a story about an editor who didn't know what a panel was.
Wow,
really? Like that doesn't surprise. Yeah, I think I remember him talking about that thing. But I think that's a big part of it too. Is they're bringing, and that was why that big controversy with the whole milkshake girls thing was.
Oh, God.
They're like look, they're like this. These are the editors. Half of them are like teenagers.
Yeah.
How the hell do they know anything?
The inexperience kind of. It wasn't so much that they were girls. It wasn't so much that they were buying.
No, it was just they were.
It was the fact that every one of them was like under 21 years old. And didn't look like they had been reading comics for the last 10 years.
Yeah, and also the editing for that time period was freaking atrocious.
Yeah, I mean, positions of leadership and guidance should always go to people with seniority in life. I mean, it only makes sense. You don't know how to do anything unless you do it. You're not going to learn really how to understand something from just reading about it. So this whole academic model our culture's put, and it's not just comics, it's everything. You got all these people listening to idiots like Neil deGrasse Tyson and all these supposed intellectuals who are dummies. They're just straight up dummies, it's just their culture where, my wife is an accountant and she worked, she's a very high level accountant. She's very good at what she does. And they got a new girl in and the girl has a master's degree and the girl was incompetent. And the girl had a master's degree in supply chain something or other. And my wife is explaining basic accounting principles to her because she was messing up her job. And the girl was all like frustrated, ready to cry, and told my wife, but I'm smart. I have a master's degree. And my wife told her, you don't have a master's degree in accounting? And it's like, honey, no. Going to that school, you just get a piece of paper. It's not really worth much. I have a funny thing.
That's like the director for the Eternals, Chloe Zhao, never directed a friggin' action film or a comic book film in her life. Everything she's done are these little self-contained like dramas
Mm-hmm.
on like one of them took place in a single friggin' building. So it's like, and then you're gonna give her this AAA like.
Well, who was the director that did the very, very first Hulk movie?
Oh, Ang Lee.
Yeah, and like he said, he's like, I do not know how to direct an action movie, but I know how to direct a drama or a tragedy. And like, I mean, that thing was a disaster from day one. And,
well, just as an aside, like when you start finding out more of the stuff that's coming out with the Alex, what's his name?
Alex Baldwin.
Alec Baldwin, yeah.
I gotta say,
you realize that the woman that was the armorist or whatever, that she was really, really inexperienced, and she was probably a diversity hire. I'm speculating there.
Oh,
I
you're
don't
right.
I don't want to go too much on a tangent because it's a tragedy, and
Yes.
these things, accidents do happen, but just to Gabe's point, some of these people shouldn't even really be considered. Sometimes experience is the only teacher. Sometimes experience is the only way that you can do these jobs. They used to have apprenticeships, like my dad, when he became a boilermaker at the Long Beach Naval Shipyard, he apprenticed. He worked, for a year or so under somebody, and then he learned the trade. And
you mean he didn't just read like 10 books about boiler making and then just go do it one day
No, because it's a freaking dangerous job. They knew it. So you have a guy that's a veteran that knows what he's doing. Walk you through it, and until you're ready, then you get your own gig. But up to that point, you're apprenticing, and these kind of apprenticeships and these kind of things, they don't really exist anymore. And the thing about these degrees is, I remember, my daughter, she's got her degree, she went through college and stuff like that. And then you realize that nobody hires you based on an interview anymore. So when I was younger, you'd talk to the management, you talk, you win them over, right? You say all these things, and then you tell them your qualifications and all that. And so then they hire you based on that. Well, now it really is just, how does it look on paper? Like, that's all they care about, like applications and stuff. It's all just based on paper. And I think the reason why management does these things now is because at least there's a paper trail, right? So then they go, well, it worked on paper. So if this person that they hired burns down the establishment or whatever, then they go, but it made perfect sense on paper. Look at their qualifications, right? But if they were just like hiring just based on gut, right? From an interview, just listening to you talk, hearing how you seeing how you handle yourself, all these things, and they hire you based on that, you can't back it up. You know what I mean? Because there's nothing tangible to back it up other than I used my gut, I hired them, they seem like a good person. So I think applications is a way for management to cover their asses. I think that's why degrees and stuff mean so much, because it trumps experience, it trumps all of that stuff. And I do believe it's just because it's a shorthand way for management to prove, that this person has the qualifications.
It's a cowardly way to do it. That way they don't have to be responsible. You're exactly right.
Oh, I think it's the worst way to do something. And sometimes they won't even accept your application in person. It's only online, so they never even get to see you. You know what I mean? People are getting jobs just based on applications online. I just think that's so crazy, man. I would never hire somebody I never met before.
Yeah, no, the diversity hire thing is totally for real. DC Comics has a book called Represent. So it's representation from minorities or whatever. And I'm the secret conservative at DC, and I knew they'd fall for it. So I just wrote to the editor-in-chief, Marie Javins, said, hey, you don't have a book by a half Mexican, half Arab, do you? So they let me write a book with zero qualification on my resume. Now, I've been able to read since 3. I was in the Gifted and Talented program for language. I'm a very good writer. I wrote a ton in college. I won awards for my writing in college from Columbia University, first place for my humor stuff. So I wrote a beautiful story that has a conservative message, and I penciled and inked and colored the whole thing. And it's exactly about why I quit over the American way. It's all about me. What they want is like white people are terrible stories. So what I did is I talked about during the Iraq War getting picked on for being Arab. and then I'm crying and getting in fights at school, and I was too big to be fighting because I was the size of a man when I was 10 years old. When I was 10, I was 5'9", like 170, or 5'10", 170, I think, in 5th grade.
So you were one of those guys, if you beat up somebody, even if they started it, you would get blamed, right?
It was your fault.
I could just really hurt a kid when it still really hurt people. But you know, but so you know, it's like in the story, I'm beating up kids at school and this and that, and some of these things really happen. And my grandpa, who really raised me, the World War II veteran that I talk about in my YouTube video, he's telling me, hey, you know, it doesn't matter what race we are. It doesn't matter all the stuff that SJWs say matter. He says what matters is the culture and the heritage you come from. You do have a home. You do have a place you belong. As long as you honor our ways and you contribute to this long line of our tradition, then that you've done the right thing and you do have a place in this world. So somehow I snuck that past DC Comics, telling them identity politics is complete bullshit and traditionalism and conservatism rules the day. And I even mentioned God in it. And I don't know why they published it, but I snuck it through the goal there. So
what happened? What happened is they looked at it and went, okay, we don't want to do this, but how do we tell them we don't want to do this?
Yeah,
he checks all the boxes. He checks all the boxes, and oh man, we're gonna fix it.
And it was probably a white editor. Is like, how do I?
No, the editor is a sweetheart, and she was really nice.
Really?
The first editor quit working there a couple weeks into me working on it because she was part of the layoffs. She cried reading it and said it was so amazing. I'm a very good writer. I'm not bragging. I am.
No, that's cool though.
I'll tell you this: it went to a TV pitch at HBO. Did you know that?
Wow.
You know why it worked, Gabe? You know why she shed a tear? Is because it was universal. Like you were tapping in.
Right. Humanity.
You left, right, whatever. It doesn't matter. Like that's how you write these stories. Is
you tell a good story. It doesn't matter. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. It was just about humanity. It wasn't about someone in my family's from. Again, I don't speak Arabic. I don't even understand that language or anything. Like that, I'm a human. And I could tell you, my dad is Libyan, and he said his mom is Turkish. And then on my mom's side, it's like my grandpa's Mexican, but also Spanish, but also Basque. My grandmother's Native American and Mexican and Syrian Jew. And like by the time you look at all this, it's like, what even is a Libyan over there? The Romans ruled it, Carthage ruled it, the Italians ruled it. Like I'm a human being, guys. And you know, when you grow up half Arab, half Mexican, mother and myself and my brother are Christian, my father's a Muslim. Something about identity politics is hilarious to you how stupid it is. Like,
my mom raised us like when you're Heinz 57. Like, you know, she's Portuguese, you know, and then she's like, I have absolutely no idea what else there is, you know. So the thing is, none of it really matters.
Not at all.
And the thing is, like when they go culture, my culture. There is a culture in America. There is an American culture.
Right.
Like, why aren't you proud of that? That's the thing that amazes me. Like they dig so deep to this other thing, like your ethnic culture. Well, there is an American culture as well. Comic books is an American art form. Like there are things that are specifically American. You know,
I have a theory on this, and I've been talking a lot, but just let me tell you what I see. Because I don't watch what people say so much, I watch what they do. And what they do pretty much is that, you know, Lisa Simpson is just a troublemaker on The Simpsons. She's always just a disagreeable little bitch. I can't stand her. I don't like that show. I don't like the show. That's a disgrace of fathers, that show. Homer is an idiot, and fathers and men are not idiots. But there was a scene that sums up SJWs to a T for me, where Bart's on the football team, and Flanders is the coach, and it's getting all exciting. The family's getting into football, and Lisa gets her dumb little feminist jealousy. So she shows up in shoulder pads and a helmet, and she tells Flanders, the coach, I bet you didn't think a girl could play football. And he's all, oh, no, we got 2 other girls on the team. Welcome aboard. And then she doesn't want to play.
Yeah.
She just wanted to ruin what the men were doing. And I want to just tell the SJWs and the weirdos, like, I get it. You hate your dad. But we don't all have to deal with that. You need to get over that. Because destroy the patriarchy, that just means I hate my dad. That's what it means. Pater, that's your father. Who is that? That's your dad. You know what I mean? And maybe your dad did mistreat you or whatever. You got to get over it. It's not our responsibility to deal with your mental illness with your father. Like, I'll help you with it, but I'm not going to let you burn down the whole country for it.
Yeah, get into therapy.
Jordan Peterson had a really emotional segment he did on a stream one time where the man was literally in tears, like he was just so tired and livid about this whole, toxic masculinity, that awful terminology. He's like, when men in this country break themselves to build this place,
Absolutely.
And then just to be demeaned and treated like they're secondary, like they're inconsequential, and they should be destroyed.
Well, the thing is, this is where we used to write sci-fi stories, which were what ifs, right? They were cautionary tales, right? So I would love to write a story, or for somebody to write a story, which would be a what if, like, what if the SJWs got exactly what they wanted?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That would be the worst world ever. Like, we all know that, but until they actually have to live in that environment and they have to be in that world. Like when you go, oh, you know what, socialism, what they're doing over in Russia or wherever, it's great. It's like, you can say that now because of capitalism and because of your freedom. But if you embrace those things, then what? We'll do it better. You'll do it better because it's filtered through the American way, because it's filtered through capitalism, or the American belief system. Like, what the hell are you saying? It's just it's completely asinine.
Well, I think the problem they have with the American way is they keep conflating American with white. It's like white people are a part of America. They're not the totality of it, clearly.
Right.
And there is a singular American culture. To get on those ships as a pilgrim and come here, all the immigrants that came here, all the immigrants. I live in San Diego, borders right there. People are trying to cross it every day. This place doesn't suck. But you have to, personality is genetic. There's research that shows that to some degree your personality is genetic. Angry, aggressive, nervous. You get a little bit of that in your genes and not just how you're raised. Well, think about who we are here in this country. We are the descendants of people who dared to get on a boat and come over here. My dad, leaving Libya, in his early 20s or whatever, to come here, and all your parents and grandparents and whoever got here, my grandpa's people came here in the 1700s. These are daring people who looked at the world around them where they were and said, no, I disagree. I'm going to do something else. So I think Americans, probably genetically, a lot of us, we have this high trait of disagreeableness where we speak up and say, no, I don't think so. And that's why so much innovation and freedom and beauty has come from here. And I think the most important freedom we have is freedom of thought, our free will. It's the most holy, wonderful, beautiful thing we have as humans. And there's nothing SJWs hate more. They hate diversity of thought. I mean, they're the same people that were putting people in the Russian gulags in the 30s, 40s, 50s. They're the same people putting people in the. It's funny they say Nazi. Yeah, they're fucking projecting. They're Nazis. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
You spoke against the party. That's what I did against DC. I spoke against them by saying,
fall in line and believe what we believe in, or you are the enemy.
Yeah.
Right.
It's fascism any way you slice it.
Yeah,
it's tribalism taken to its apex. Yeah.
Well, you want to play the video? Do you have that?
I threw it in the chat. Do you want to bring it up?
I can throw it up.
Yeah, do it, please. Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Bob.
And then I think I'll jump after that, though. I've been on for a while.
It's cool meeting you, Gabe.
Hey, yeah. Thank you for having me.
Oh crap! No, there we go. I'm doing it wrong.
Boomer alert.
We'll do it live.
Now hold on. The video
live.
It does have a movie clip at the end that's 20 seconds long. Will that get the channel? It hasn't had any trouble for my channel. I don't know.
We'll find out. I don't really care. I mean,
okay.
Monetize, whatever. I don't make that much money off that anyway. So I don't really care.
Guys, please, is it too much for me to ask? Would it be terrible for me to ask everyone to subscribe to my channel, please? And I have comics coming that I'm doing that are amazing.
Well, Gabe, your link is in the description. Everybody listening, Gabe's YouTube channel, the link is in the description. So, yeah, go check out. So you're going to bounce now, Gabe, while we're watching the video?
I'm going to watch the video, and I can take a question or two afterwards, and then I got
Okay. So let's do this then.
All right. I got it. There we go.
You got control?
Ready?
Yes.
Like my father before me. What we like my father before me.
Made it better.
What we've got here is failure to communicate. Some men you just can't reach. So you get what we had here last week, which is the way he wants. Well, he gets.
I've loved to draw
ever since I was a little boy. When I was a teenager, I found comic books and decided that it was going to be my job. After many years and many rejection letters, you could say I made it. I started working for DC Comics when I was 29 years old. I started sending samples there when I was 17. I got to make amazing art with some amazing people. I still can't believe it sometimes when I think about it. I even started my own fundraiser for veteran comic book artists who helped build this business. Hey, 12-year-old me, you made it. I also got to make some great friends along the way. They're just everyday people who try their very best to make beautiful art to entertain the fans. And yeah, I got to go to a few Hollywood premieres. I'll have to tell you guys about the time my daughter and I crashed the Shazam after party in Hollywood. It's what you think it is. This stuff is really fun. I mean, where else can you meet Ivan Drago himself? But then something horrible happened. Some really ugly people came along and started messing with our business. This is Tim Duran. I call him Pampy. He's my maternal grandfather. He survived the Great Depression, and after that, he got shipped off to go fight in the Pacific and watch his friends' guts spill on the beaches as they fought against Toho's army. This guy right here, friends with this guy. He was the best man I ever knew, and I'm not going to let him down now. Oh, and let's not forget this guy. This guy right here. I've been able to beat up my dad since I was 18. Look at him laughing there. And now, look into those eyes. I want you to think about those eyes. This is a man from Libya. And guess who he stood up to? This guy right here. And it cost him. They killed my dad's friends, and they killed my grandfather. So my dad decided to be bold and risk it all and leave this place and come to this place. A place he had no familiarity with, a place with a completely different culture. But it was a culture he embraced and a culture he completely thrived in. I couldn't be more proud of my father. If my father didn't have the courage to stand up for what was right, then I might be this guy or one of these guys, or who the hell knows, might be this guy, or just in a grave somewhere in Libya. I have some new, awesome friends now with the best fans in the world. They really respect the heritage of comic books, and they let me be myself, which is a nice change of pace. I'm making way better books now with way better art. Art that honors the heritage and the men and women that built this business, so I could just walk in here and have a career. And now it's my turn to defend this heritage for the one I love and completes my world, the one that impresses the hell out of me, and the one that's just like me. Not to mention the one that bore me, and even this little knucklehead right here. I'm going to do it for my brother now that we're older, because we were once young and we dreamed of this stuff. We just loved it so damn much. I'm going to do it for the ones that broke our hearts when they left, but we know that we'll see them again. The price paid for the prosperity, freedom, and abundance that me and my family have was a great one. And I'm sorry I didn't say anything sooner. We're going to stand up to these tyrants, and we're not going to let them intimidate us. There's a hell of a lot more of us than there are of them. Standing up in the face of tyrants is the American way.
Just remember, it's your old man on bound way to that station when nobody else would.
So there you go.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, very well done.
That was a great video, man.
Yeah, nice.
I can't hear you, bud. Can you say that louder? Sorry.
I said that was a great video, man.
Yeah,
Thank you very
absolutely.
much. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, just to stay on topic a little bit. So 87 years of DC history. Why do you think they're pissing it all away now, within the last 3 years specifically, with agenda, with all of this stuff? I really just wanted to get your point of view, and then we can let you go, and then we can talk about it a little bit further.
Okay. So what I mean, if like a lot of things in life, you think there's this huge conspiracy that's super interesting and blah, blah, blah. And I don't think so. I think it's very simple what's going on. These people that are captured by this, and it's not that many people, but it only takes one apple to spoil the bunch, right? It's just that one person that ruins the party, or that one person that ruins the work office. You know what I mean? That one weird bully or whatever. It's just that 1, 2, 3 people out of 1,000, and they're so selfish, narcissistic, and ignorant that they'll just act super aggressively and crazy, and they don't care. So everyone else just like, oh, I better not. I mean, how many people have stood up? Like me, you, Ethan. I mean, how many people in the mainstream have stood up? Art, just a few of us.
Right.
Look how long it took me. You know, I've been secretly working for Comicsgate for years. I've been coloring a ton of your boy Zach's work with a pen name. Think how crazy that is, that I'm just coloring science fiction, but because they don't like me working for a person that makes fun of their dumbass decisions, you know what I mean? Like, hey, you don't want to get made fun of? Don't do stupid shit. You know what I mean? So the reason they're doing it is because they're just being harassed by these SJWs. Most of the editors I work with, they're not crazy like this. But the ones that are crazy like this are insane and vicious and out of control people.
Are the SJWs within DC or SJWs that are?
Oh, absolutely. The SJW there was Andy Curry.
Okay.
Thank goodness he got fired. And I got a really, really great, there's some stuff about him that might come out one day. But he's the beauty that hired Zoe Quinn, she of Gamergate. And he's the beauty that hired Eric Esquivel, who allegedly sexually harassed some woman or something. He's the beauty that hired Robbie Rodriguez, who sends pictures of his anus to Ethan and doesn't get fired. He's the genius that took the most prestigious label in comics, Vertigo Comics, the most prestigious label. And he just put it out of business with his stupid SJW books that nobody likes. Nobody wants to read this crap.
Right.
Americans, I know this is shocking, Warner Brothers. You're going to want to sit down. Americans don't want to read books that say America sucks.
Right. Pure and simple.
Just
we live
like
here. Why would they want
like
that?
you guys didn't like it when I say you suck. We don't like it when you say we suck.
Right.
It's not different when it's you, okay?
Well, I just wonder what kind of crazy low self-esteem do you have when you go, this is where I live. This is like you said, your forefathers fought, bled for this country, and then you just go, well, you know what? It sucks. It sucks. And I'm like, what the fuck are you even talking about? It doesn't suck. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to go around with these blinders on your entire life and just see what's wrong with the world, then that's what you're going to see. And that's what you're going to manifest into the world. Just shit. Shit in, shit out, right?
Yeah.
But you know what?
It's a generation that's been engendered to be entitled.
Right, but also they were raised to hate where they came from.
Yeah, exactly. Our education system was that's like go back and look at Lenin's handbook for how to build a socialist country. The first thing you take over is education.
Right.
Education in the media.
You're totally right, dude. And McCarthy was right. They invaded Hollywood and the media and education in the 50s. And I hate to tell you guys this, they won the Cold War. That's what this is. They said, well, we're not going to take them on with nukes. We'll just take over the brains of the generations coming up. And then they'll just think like us eventually. It's brilliant.
Yeah, Khrushchev said, it's like we'll win without firing a shot.
Yeah, it's a long-term plan. It takes time and patience, but it is effective. And it was always like, you will be defeated from within, and that's exactly what's happening. I am so what early Comicsgate was always like, take the red pill. You'd be red pilled, and then your eyes would be open, and then once your eyes were open, you could never unsee it. You could never
That's the danger of taking the red pill.
Right.
You're never going to be able to look at it the same way again.
Right, and so it's so funny. Like I always thought, like I was more liberal in my point of view, probably growing up in California, stuff like that. And then I realized that my parents were pretty conservative, but we were very live and let live. So I always thought like progressives or Democrats were more like, just accepting live and let live. And now it's like, I'm talking about extremes. The extreme version of that is like, no, we're going to burn you down. We're going to destroy you if you disagree with us. Like, to be a good Democrat now, you have to buy into it hook, line, and sinker, because even they'll turn on each other. You know, this is the SJW types that will eat each other and feed on each other. And we're starting to see it now. But Gabe, do you think that comics is ever going to rebound from this? Do you think
I sincerely hope never, because they are easy to compete with if they keep this up. I told someone earlier, you know, our private chat, the one we have, Art Fraga posted like, why are they doing blah, blah, blah? It was another stupid ass thing. And I told Fraga, no. I pray they never, please triple down on them, please. And I'm not kidding, because football player and coach, as I've said 10 times, can you tell I love it? If I'm playing the big team next week, I don't want their quarterback. I hope he's injured. I hope he gets better just next week, just not this week. You know,
just tweak your ankle.
Yeah. So if DC and Marvel, their quarterback is hurt this week, good. I don't want to play him. I want to play him with the third stringers. So if they want to keep doing this stuff, and it looks like they're like going warp speed, it's like a positive feedback loop. It's just getting stronger and stronger.
100%.
Please keep it up. Please, when your competitor is just owning themselves, do not. I think Sun Tzu, or one of those great guys, had a saying like, "Do not interrupt your enemy when he's making a fool of himself," or whatever, something like that. So what? No, don't stop, please. Don't stop on my court.
Yeah. As a fan, I desperately want them to figure this out, realize what they're doing. But from you guys, from a business standpoint, like, no, drive it into the ground.
Exactly.
Well, there's a lot of like, I'm kind of the same, where, you know, I got almost 40 years in this industry, and I don't want to see it burn to the ground. A lot of those characters I do love, and also the retailers, you know, like they're the ones that are going to get burned.
Yeah,
there is kind of like this whole infrastructure that's happening, but at the same time, to agree with Gabe, I've witnessed bad decision after bad decision done by people that my career and my livelihood were based on. Like I had to kind of obey their rules. I had to kind of go along with it. I couldn't question it, you know, and then you see time and time again, not only publishers, but you see even retailers making really bad decisions, distributors making really, really bad decisions. And then at some point you just go, I can fuck my life up. I would rather be in control of my own destiny than have to rely on these people. And just the constant frustration of going, hey, if you guys just did this, the industry would be better. Or if you just did that, the industry would be better. Because they're not going to listen. You can't fix it. It's not your world. You have no control over it. But where we're at right now, we have 100% control over our own destiny. And I'm telling you, I've never been in this place before in my entire career, and I'm loving it. I'm loving that all we have to do is hang out with people in the chat. All we have to do is win them over with our sparkling personalities and our brilliant work. And people like Randy will support us. So, hey, Randy Howell, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Too many degrees. Automation is accelerating, and the biggest impact is now in white-collar jobs. SJWs can cry all they want, but in hard times, talent will rise. The rest will go home to their parents.
Yeah.
Damn.
They will cry. They will cry their eyes out. Yeah. My daughter's got dig down, man. She did not miss a day of work during the whole lockdown in California, man. She has worked every day. And then at some point, you know, before she did that, she came and had a heart to heart with my wife and I, and she said, I know it's really dangerous, and if you guys don't want me to, you know, because she knew she was going to bring it home, you know, to us, you know, if she got sick or whatever. And she said, you know, I'll respect that, and I'll not go to work. Because this was at the time they were also paying, like these places were paying people like if they didn't go to work, and just it was really bizarre. And so we said, no, we appreciate and we respect the fact that you want to go and you want to make an honest way in the world. You want to work, you want to make money. You don't want to sit back and have the government giving you handouts and stuff like that. And we'll take it as it comes. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. And if you get sick or we get sick, we'll just deal with that. And I said, I really respect you going and doing this. And man, when you see all the signs around us that are asking for people they're practically begging people to work for them now.
Yeah.
This is the generation, man. They would rather not work. There's no dig down. There's no character. I
don't understand it. Like there's no unemployment anymore. So like how are these people just not working? Like how are some people not just forced to go back to work to earn an income? Like what are these people doing? I'm baffled by all of this.
Well, the government is they are paying them not to work.
Still?
Yeah, California extended it. I don't want to say December or March. People still get out of money. And Biden added more. There's still an extra $200-300 a week from Biden, and then like $200-300 a week from Gavin Newsom.
Oh, I thought it had ended in September. So maybe yeah.
No, I think people here in California, I mean, you can get regular unemployment, like say $300-400. Then you can get another $500 from the Fed and the California. So you could be getting $900 a week to smoke pot and play Xbox.
Oh yeah, who's showing up for their job flipping burgers for that? Yeah.
Well, kids that have integrity, kids that want to make an honest way in the world.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I was one of those weirdo kids that was just like, I want to earn it. Like I was like Gabe. Like when I was a kid, I had all these jobs. I mow lawns. I would recycle.
More likely, I was much taller.
You were a big kid, big kid. But I mean, just in that sense that we worked for money, even when we were a kid. Like I always had a job. Like even when I was young, I remember I had a purpose and I had a job, and I always wanted to buy my own stuff. I took pride in that.
Yeah. Well, I got to jump, gentlemen. It's been really nice, but the wife and dinner and all that's calling. It was a pleasure. So, but to talk about, as DC and Marvel going to double and triple down, I just put my sunglasses on, adjust the mirror. I don't give a shit what they do. They are so far behind me. It's ridiculous. I'm living in the year 3000, man. These guys, forget them, okay? I'll talk to you later.
All right. Take care. Enjoy your dinner. Well, we lost Bob. Where'd Bob go? We lost two guys. Now Todd's going to talk.
Bob bounced.
Now Todd's going to
go.
Todd. It's going to be all on Todd.
Yeah. Hey, Todd, what do you think of the topic?
Well, you know what? He's really well-spoken guy, right?
Yes, I agree.
And he's got his shit together, so to speak. So, and he's made the right decision for him. He's not alone, because if you're on Facebook with a lot of these guys, the ones that are posting every day, this commission, that commission, and just throwing artwork out there are right now without a job.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a bunch of them. There's some people they kept and some people they didn't. And they're really good artists. So they should take a look at what he did, take a look at what some other guys did, like Shane Davis and what Kenneth Roquefort's about to do, and either join or copy. Simple as that. And make your own way and own your own work. Right. Ethan's original videos used to always say the word own your own work. And it was one of the things that stuck with me is when he used to say that. So they need to do that.
I am baffled by I almost sense like there's just a fear, and maybe it's just because they've been in the industry, but by some comic book pros, that they are so uncomfortable with the whole concept of crowdfunding. And it like, I see some of these artists, the big name guys, and it's like, if you came over to crowdfunding, you would kill, and there would be people lining up to help you figure out how to do it. But I think just the fact that they've been in the industry so long, they're so uncomfortable with a concept outside of that there is a legitimate fear for them to even dip their toe in and try and find out about it.
Well, if you've had any job for like 10, 20 years, you know,
Yeah.
you're afraid to see if the grass is greener. You're afraid to go anywhere because it's unproven, it's unsure. But this one thing that you're holding on to isn't maybe serving you as well as it could, but it's sure. It's like, why do you think McDonald's exists? Because people would rather have something that might not be great, but they don't have to take a chance with. You know what I mean? They know what they're going to get.
Then you know exactly what you're going to get.
Right, but there's another place. It's a mom and pop burger place, and they surpass McDonald's. They have better prices, all that other stuff. But you're really not going to try them because you don't know what you're going to get. So I think there is just that part that they're unsure, and they just don't want to mess with the status quo. And I think that most people are just creatures of habit. You know, they just kind of do the same thing every day. And I think to do what we're doing, the three of us are doing, you have to completely think outside the box. I think you have to have a dig down and a character that believes in yourself and believes in what you're doing to the point of putting it out in front of people and having them judge. Like that's tough, man. Because you know, when I worked at Marvel, DC, and you worked for other publishers too, you guys, you could hide behind the publisher. You know what I mean? Like you could put out the work and just go, well, it was work for hire, and then move on, right? But with Pirate Queen or with anything that Todd does in the future and Black and White and Chrono Mechanics, like it's us. You know,
it's you. It's you. You're not hiding behind a company or anything. It's all you out there.
Yeah, and so people judge you based on that. So also the neat thing about, or what I like about it, is that there is kind of that you don't fail. You know, I kind of like that place that you're in where you don't fuck around, you don't fail. You know what I mean? It's just that simple, and I kind of like that. You know what I mean? And it's kind of it's a little easier to say now than even when I got into Comicsgate years ago. You know, where there does seem like there is an infrastructure of sorts. You know?
No, there absolutely is.
Yeah, and there are more people coming in, and there's more people supporting the books. There's more people that understand what Comicsgate is. Like that was a big thing. And even in the early days, I don't think it was as clearly defined. And I think now, like, it's becoming more and more defined. And it's kind of like the weak things and the things that weren't working fell aside. You know, those things are gone now. And now all that there is the stuff that is working, and that's surviving, and that's rising to the top. And that's why this is amazing. That's why it's going to work.
Yeah, so, it's impressive in how organic, like you said, it has become its own thing. It's more defined, but it's also happened organically. Like there's a legitimate fan community there that understands what Comicsgate is, likes the creators that are in it, and you know, support them with supporting books that they enjoy. It's really, it is amazing how it is kind of just formulated on its own and become this like monster that it is now. And I'm absolutely looking forward to seeing where it goes next.
It's going to keep building for sure. So I'm trying to always, there's something I wanted from Gabe and I didn't get it. So I do want to stay on the topic a little bit, because I mean, Gabe gave the absolute, like, you know, the middle finger to the establishment. But, you know, one thing that we do on Pontificators is we kind of try to figure out like on an up note, we want to leave on an up note. Is there any chance that DC is going to pull it out? I mean, at this point, it seems like they're fairly hell bent on destroying 87 years of history, and they're going down like quickly. I had a conversation with my wife at lunchtime, and I was talking about Jim Lee, and I was like, you know, I really like Jim. Jim gave me a lot of breaks, and Jim's a good guy on certain levels. But as far as like Jim and DC Comics, I'm almost like, because like Gabe was brave. He's like, screw, you know, DC. Truth, Justice, you took out American Way. That's the breaking point. I'm getting out, And so I had a similar kind of situation where I was just like, well, I'm done. And then there's part of me that just goes, Jim Lee is helping manifest these decisions. You know what I mean? Like he's in a position where he doesn't seem like he's defending any of the history. Like he's in a place that he's not clearly going, no, we're not doing that. You can fire me, but we're not doing that.
Right.
And so it just seems like there's nobody on the inside that, I mean, they're leaving, they're quitting, but they're not fighting the good fight from within. And so that's the part that scares me, and that's the part that makes me feel like they don't have any. There is no hope. You know what I mean? That
I wouldn't say there's no hope, but I also think there's the whole like burn it all the way down to build it back up. Like Warner Brothers knows there's money in DC to be tapped. I think management at DC is riding out a storm right now, and like I think everybody working there is looking out for their own job and not like the overall good of DC Comics. They're like trying to ride this out, and maybe some will survive and some won't. But I see at some point this ending, like this whole SJW thing. These things, it's like anything else. It's just a different fad, and they don't last forever. It's like the winds shift, the course corrects itself. And one thing I believe in is capitalism. Things need to make money to survive. Right. Otherwise, you cut your losses. I see at some point Warner Brothers cleaning house at DC Comics, but knowing that DC Comics makes money and starting fresh. And maybe there'll be a few people that survive, and maybe there won't be.
Yeah,
but
there are people that speculate that DC Comics won't even make the cut.
They might not. The comics might not make the cut, but like Superman and Batman logos, and then they'll just be like, we can do comics or something. I think comics will survive. It might just be in a very different version of what is going on right now.
Well, comics will survive. I mean, we're gonna see to that. I mean, like Comicsgate, stuff like that. But what you mean is like mainstream. Well, mainstream comics.
Yeah, and like comic shops and like that. I can see that 100%. Like in 10 years from now, being completely different than what it is right now. Like maybe it'll just be trades into bookstores and a direct order through Amazon or something, or digital downloads, or maybe it won't even be floppies. I think it'll change, but I think there'll be some version of DC Comics. But what form that is, I think there will be an overhaul of it. It'll just be what it ends up becoming and who survives that.
Right. What do you think, Todd? I mean, do you think that DC, do you have any hope for them? Do you think they're going to pull it out? I mean, and also, how do you feel? I would really like to hear your feedback. Like, how do you feel about like that there's 87 years of history that they seem to just be abandoning, like at a breakneck speed?
I don't have any hope because they're not cultivating fans, right? Like we always talk about, comic books started out for the youth. So the scholastic stuff I see is more woke than the mainstream line, right?
Right.
You've seen it. The Starfire's sister or whatever. So that stuff's more woke, and it really doesn't... those markets are already pretty well set. I'm not saying they didn't sell a few good titles or whatever in scholastics. But those markets, they're trying to like cater to like that wokeness doesn't need to be at that age group that you're trying to hit. Tell a good story, introduce those characters, legacy characters to those kids, even if it's a young version of Bruce Wayne and he's not even Batman. I don't care. But don't do the weird off the cuff kind of nonsense that they're doing in them. You know, like Harley Quinn is a lesbian and she's got a landlord that's kind of weird. That's you're indoctrinating when you're doing that, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're going after that scholastic market, we're talking about a market that's 12 and younger and a little bit over than that. So to me, that's the wrong subject matter or the wrong sort of character driven stories that you're trying to tell there that are really, really woke. That's not going to win you any fans. You're not going to get crossover because the idea of going after the young fan is to get crossover. So if you got even more woke stories in your scholastic line, and then you're taking all your legacy characters and turning their kids into, like, nobody has a stray kid. You know, 1% of our population is being represented by all of the legacy character kids is just kind of weird to me. So you're not going to get crossover. All you're doing is looking like you're indoctrinating kids. And it's very scary and creepy to me because that's, I don't know. I wouldn't have never gravitated towards those type of stories. Right.
Well, the thing is, when you were saying that, I started realizing that comics, have always kind of, and just stories in general would deal with some of the subject matter, but they just wouldn't deal with it in such an agenda way or such an obvious way. Like if you think about the X-Men, right? The reason people could relate to the X-Men is because I think everybody at some point in their lives felt like an outsider. They felt like they didn't fit in, right? They felt ostracized, all these things. So these are like more like universal feelings and things that everybody can relate to, growing up, you're awkward, you're all these things. So that becomes the universal entry point. And all the X-Men kind of shared the same thing. So then if you liked one character or another, there was still something there that you could relate to, that you could hold on to. And I think that's why it succeeded. But now they do things in such a direct way, in such an agenda way, like this is a transgender whatever, and it's very, very specific. And so then not everybody can go, oh, I can relate to a transgendered individual. You know what I mean? So then already you're just kind of like what you're saying, Todd, you're cutting the audience off because then if you don't relate to them, this is the part where I really have a problem with, then they crucify you. Then they say you're a homophobe or you're just an isophobe, you're a Nazi, you're whatever the name is du jour, because of that. And that's a chicken shit way of saying you created something that nobody likes, and then it's all the straight white males' fault because they didn't relate to it.
Yeah.
Well, no one can relate to it. Only when you're so specific in what you're writing, then that is the narrow viewpoint, and that's the narrow fan voice you're going to have. So what we used to do is stand-ins. We used to do stand-in metaphors or stand-in characters for certain universal things. And so then the best stories were when you could read them, science fiction, comics, whatever, and you didn't realize that there was this connection, right? You didn't realize why you're connecting with it, or you didn't realize why this actually feels truthful. The reason it feels truth, is because there is truth and there's universal truth in it. And if it's done well, you don't even realize it, right? You just go, that was great. I love that character, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And the
this
reason
is part of the story.
But there's things that just don't work, right? There's no men on Themyscira. There is none.
Well, there should be.
Well, there isn't. So you don't make one of them like women who turns into. I don't even know what.
Oh, transgender, yeah.
Yeah, so you don't do that.
It doesn't even make any sense by their
Well,
own.
well, you can do it if you're just pushing an agenda and not thinking about how it affects
It's
the
creepy.
story.
It's not natural and it's not well thought out. It's just
also
creepy.
Who performed the surgery?
It's not even based on their own rules of the universe.
Yeah.
It's not even based on anything that they set up. So it makes absolutely no sense at all.
Now, are they over there going, we need a headline, so let's go this way. If that's what they're doing, okay,
That's what it
but that
seems like
doesn't
mostly.
translate to sales. What you got to
Right.
do is prove to me you can sell a comic. There's one, I'm going to tell you, if anyone's listening, I read one of their comics. One. It's Robin, or not, I mean Nightwing.
They don't
It's the
care
only
about.
one. So
They don't care about sales. Their
you
jobs
have
are-
to at some point. You have
No,
to
well,
justify your
but not yet.
existence.
Right now
Right?
they don't, because, and this is where I have a theory of how the movies have hurt the comic book industry, because the movies have brought in so much money that the bigger corporations don't care if the publishing aspect of it makes money.
Let me tell you,
whatsoever.
there's somebody that does care, because Campbell's isn't on the back, and raviolis aren't in the middle,
Yeah,
and
no, I agree.
and
No.
bikes aren't in there. Those things were in there because advertisers cared, because you were making sales, and it was a good product, and it was worth putting your ads in there.
But that hasn't trickled down to affecting editors losing their jobs because of low sales. Like they're not firing people because of low sales.
But they're doing a tenth of
They're
the number of
downsizing.
books.
They might be downsizing.
Yeah, they're doing a tenth of the number of the books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's great artists that are out of work right now because their book just got canceled.
Yeah, I really just think that it's so perplexing. That's why we could talk about this, forever, because it just boggles your mind, because you just, none of it makes any logical sense.
No. Yeah.
Based on the real world way that things work and function. And that's why, like I said, I did have that like realization when I was talking to my wife about like Jim Lee. Jim Lee isn't in there fighting the good fight. Like who is? Who's standing up for these characters? Who's the caretakers?
Nobody.
Who wants to say Superman is Superman? He's not this other thing. It's so weird. Like
It feels very much like Jim is in there riding it out as long as he can.
Oh, there it goes. Yeah, I'm going to show you something as soon as my mouse will start working. This right here, and this is where I left. DC. Can you guys see this? This is Superman and Jonathan, right? Like I was thinking about this as well. It's so weird. Like this is so. There's so many angles to this, and there's so many, like, you just keep searching for an answer, right? Because it just boggles your mind. So then, when I was working on Super Sons and all this stuff was going with Jonathan Kent and everything, I literally would hear back from people. And I never heard back from anybody, but people would go out of their way and they would tell me, like, this is the best stuff that DC's done in years, right? I can buy this book and I can read it with my kids, right? I mean, that's these stories that I would hear, and I was like, oh shit, this is connecting with people. People are going out of their way to tell me that they like it, right? I mean, that's what you have something. And so, I was thinking, all right, this is also somebody's entry point to Superman, like some kids, right? So mom, dad, whatever, are reading this, buying these Super Son books and Superman books of this time, like a few years back, and they're going, this is good, this is wholesome, and then all of a sudden there's this big announcement, right? And says Jonathan Kent is gay, and then there's that kid that was like reading this book, looking at these images, you know what I mean? Like, this is a wholesome image. They're just flying, they're just, flying over this mountain range and just hanging out as father and son. And then you always go, well, this kid's going to be a great man someday. He's got Clark Kent, who's also a great man, is going to teach him, right from wrong and all this great stuff. And in the meantime, you get to see Clark as a father, you get to see Lois as a mom, you get to see them raise this kid with the superpowers. And then, people are connecting to it. They can relate to it. It's a father-son, family story now. And then all of a sudden they just go, no, we're going to age this kid up, and then we're going to have him start dating another boy. And I just want to be clear. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm never like, oh, I'm a homophobe or whatever. That's fine. But it is a betrayal. This is a betrayal because there are people that were reading this and were under this one impression, right? That this was a wholesome family, father, son, type of story, and that it was connecting with them. They were sharing it with their son, right? And then the son, is like, hey, Dad, I just read in the headlines that Jonathan Kent is now gay and he's older. You know what I mean? Like, what does that do? Like, isn't that like a betrayal on some level? Don't you start going, well, this is not the Jonathan Kent that we used to love and we used to read together. And then what if the kid has all these T-shirts, right? He has this Superman T-shirt and he's wearing it to school. He's proud of, it's like Superman. And then, the kids at school go, Superman's gay now, right? You know what I mean? Or what about all these grown-ups that were like getting tattoos of Superman that were proud and like thought Superman was cool. And now all of a sudden it's like, well, there's this agenda that's been thrown on them. There's this agenda that's just been here. Now you have to deal with it. And if you say anything, then we're going to call you names and then we're going to humiliate you and get you canceled, whatever it is. And I just think like, wow, you talk about just like shitting on the golden goose, right? This is Superman. And then the whole 87 years of history, all these years, it's managed to be relevant in every decade, like had success. And now you guys are just going, well, no, what you thought was Superman before isn't. It's this now, know? And then everybody's supposed to go, oh, okay, that's fine.
And that's probably what bothers me more is the selfishness. Like, we're going to make this ours and we don't care what it has been before. We have our agenda and we're going to push that and we're going to ignore everything that's come before. Like, I don't care what gay characters or any of that. Like, Superman was for everybody and you have co-opted him into just your thing now. And like, it's selfish. It's short-sighted. Superman is more than just one thing. Superman is something for everybody. And to try and just co-opt it into just what your agenda is, I think it's a mistake. But you know what? Let him go. Do whatever you want with Superman. Come by the Pirate Queen. Comicsgate, it's where it's at. It's real clean and simple. I mean, it's easy. I wash my hands of it.
Yeah, I just think there's not much more to say, but it really does boggle my mind, because I just keep asking myself like new questions. Like it's like a labyrinth of just like new shit that you turn a corner and there's a new like wall that's up that you just ask questions like, why is this wall here? It wasn't here yesterday. Why are you purposely like screwing this stuff up? And once again, there's nothing wrong with gay heroes. There's nothing wrong with gay characters. It's just like this is.
I love the Authority, like Midnighter and Apollo. That was like such a cool storyline. And then they got scared and like veered away from it, and like they got rid of the Authority. But like those were like awesome. They were slightly derivative, but there's been tons of derivative characters of Superman and Batman. Those are fantastic characters, fully fleshed out. They were awesome. They didn't want to do anything with them because it didn't make enough of a impact because they were new characters. But like there's opportunities to do stuff with like very cool, very fully fleshed out new characters. But it's like, no, it's just cheaper and easier to like, switch this character, and I don't know. It's really frustrating.
Get a headline. Yeah, get a headline. And I think we talked on this channel on Pontificators that it's kind of like turning characters from one genre or one gender to another or whatever. Well, also it's kind of like there was a time where they were just killing all the heroes. That was trend. And so then we made the correlation or the parallel to like that time. And it's just, at some point it becomes effed out, right?
Yeah, it's another fad that runs its course. It's
right.
Lazy,
it's not
lazy writing.
Right. It's not interesting. It's not cool. It's not going to get you any headlines. At some point, it's just like it's a one-trick pony, and it's going to be effed out soon, and then you're going to have to move on. What I want, this is a cautionary tale because this happens time and time again, is things have to be multiple things happening at the same time. Like Marvel, DC, stop just going with, it has to be this one thing and then everything has to fit into this one box. It's like, no, have multiple things going on at the same time. And when one sticks, then promote it, keep moving, and then try to find something else and try to find something else until you have something new. And what you'll find is you'll have multiple things happening at one time that become hits, and then you will truly be successful. But at this point, I don't think anybody gives a shit. It's so predictable.
That's what it is.
It's so effed out. It's like anybody that's at these boardroom meetings at Marvel and DC. What comes up? It's like, oh, how do we bring up the sales in Aquaman? We make him gay.
Mm-hmm.
Really? That's the idea. And then who are these people that are going, brilliant? Hurrah!
It's laziness. It's like I'm collecting my check at the end of the week. They've all tapped out. Like there's nobody. The people that work in comics don't care about comics anymore, either because they burnt out or they never cared in the first place. And I mean, it shows. It shows in what the product they're putting out. It shows in their sales. Like they've given up, and like everything that's happening is just happening because there's a bunch of people in there that don't care.
It's also like Todd says, the other betrayal is that there are some really, really talented people that are trying to turn this shit into gold. You know what I mean? They're working their ass off with what these crappy stories are, and they're just trying the best they can. I always thought, like, oh, go ahead, Todd.
It can't be everything though. Like you I'm sure you remember Neil Posner, right?
Right. Yeah.
And Teen Titans and they worked a character in there, and it was interesting, and it wasn't everything that the book was about. The book was still the Titans, and there happened to be either a member that was going to join or had some, he was the son of Deathstroke, whatever.
Yeah,
that worked. It was interesting.
Yeah, it was a great storyline.
And so you weren't slapped in the face with it. It wasn't pre-announced. It was just something came naturally. Maybe that had something to do with Neil Posner or not. I don't know. But there were obviously people that worked for these companies that wanted to see representation.
Yeah.
But no, it's over-representation.
I don't even think it was like necessarily that they were going, oh, we need representation. I just thought they were like, this is an interesting story.
This is a good story.
No, yeah, but I do think
throw him into the mix, and the interesting thing is, oh my gosh, he's the son of one of the most like tough guy characters in the DC universe. Like, how is he going to deal with this? But like you said too, Todd, it was just done. It was natural. It was matter of fact, and then you just read them because also they didn't go, he's gay. Like, you just kind of. There were mannerisms, there were characteristics, there were things that he did, and then over a course of issues, you're like, I think he might be gay.
I do think there is a little bit of representation going on, because I do know that Phil Jimenez, as he cut his teeth as an artist and as he got better and then was given bigger assignments and then actually did some writing, he put representation in there because he wanted to represent himself.
Right, but Jericho was like predated.
Oh, yeah.
It predated.
I was mainly talking about Jericho, or even like North Star. Like North Star was actually more of a publicity stunt. I don't think it was necessarily about representation. I think Scott Lobdell.
Yeah, that was
the way it all went down. Like Scott contacted the press. You know what I mean? Scott went and he pursued it. So I think on some level that was kind of choreographed.
I would love to hear John Byrne wrote most of the original Alpha Flight, And I think maybe he, like, very subtly, like you were talking, Jericho was subtle. I think John Byrne was even more subtle with that. And I think Scott Lobdell picked up on it and said, I'm going to hit this with a hammer and not be subtle at all.
Yeah. And then he called the press. I do remember, like, Mark Pasilla, who's I was really close friends with at the time, and he was the penciler on it. And he was interviewed by every gay magazine out there. And so he was kind of like, he was a bodybuilder, like tough guy type. And so I thought it was interesting that he was the go-to. Like, I mean, Scott was doing interviews and stuff too, but Mark as well. And then Mark told me, he said, I really had no idea that the readership of comics there was a lot of homosexual people that read comic books. And then he said, I should have known, this is Mark, because they're idealized male figures.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
In tight outfits. You know what I mean? And so, there is that audience, but that audience, I don't know we're ever like screaming like we need representation.
Yeah.
We don't need overtly gay characters. They just kind of liked it because there were these masculine guys who were showing off their bodies. You know what I mean? Like, and to each his own. Like, that's fine.
Yeah.
But it's funny because we can everybody can enjoy these books on different levels.
Oh yeah, there's a little something for everybody.
Right, but once you start really making things agenda and you really narrow things down, that's when they become less universal. And
you're alienating everybody else but yourself. That's where the selfishness of that whole SJW agenda is. It's like, if they wanted to be a part of it, just be a part of it. Like, some of the stuff that's important to them could be in the stories too, but don't alienate everybody else just to fit your own agenda. And that's the whole SJW thing, is we're going to make this just about us and fuck the rest of y'all. So
yeah, I'm gonna read this. This is Trevor Cameron. He worked at Hack Shack Studios with me years ago. Really good artist. The woke crowd thinks they're giving us Lord of the Rings when they're just writing Veggie Tales. yeah. There's all kinds of weird stuff going on, and I think it boggles all of our minds. That's why we can just talk about this forever. So I'm going to wrap this up. I want to thank everybody in the chat. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Thanks for supporting Pontificators, all the books that we do, everything. Thank you for the super chat. Thanks to everybody on the panel tonight. Thanks to Gabe, who came in and just knocked it out of the ballpark, and everybody else on my Pontificator brothers. I do appreciate you guys, and we will see you next week. So take care, everyone.